I'm Yoram Solomon, and this is the Book of Trust. Chapter 9, The Sixth Law of Trust. Trust is reciprocal. Around the time Maya had turned 1, she learned that she could lift herself up to stand. Soon thereafter, she learned that she could walk. And as soon as that happened, she immediately tried running. What do you think happened the first time she tried running? That's right, she fell. And what do you think was the first thing that she did when she fell? Did she cry? Did she get up and continue to run? Neither. I'm sure that this happened to you, and I'm sure that you are puzzled by my answer. However, something else had happened before she started crying or picked herself up and kept on going. She looked at me. She was confused. She didn't know whether she should cry or keep going. She needed a clue, and where she looked for was my face. I was an authority figure in her life, and she assumed that I would know what she needed to do and would give her a clue of what her appropriate response should be. If the expression on my face was that of horror, fear, or concern, she would begin to cry. But if the expression on my face was of slight or no interest or concern, she would get up and keep going. Here's another scenario. You have guests at your house, and one of them had asked for coffee. You pour the coffee into a small porcelain espresso cup with a saucer, but then your 3-year-old son asked to be the one taking this to the guest. He wants to show you that he's a big boy now. What are the odds that he would spill the coffee? But the answer to this question depends on how you answered his request to take the coffee to your guest. What most people would do is let him take the cup and warn him not to spill it. If you do that, you would have just made him think about spilling it. And as a result, he would. But there's another way to look at it. When you warn him not to spill it, you also indicated that you think there is a good likelihood that he would spill it and you didn't trust him. And if you don't trust him, he will likely not behave in a trustworthy way, and he's not going to trust himself. He will not try too hard to avoid what, in his mind now, is the inevitable. Our brain seeks consistency between what we do and what we think, believe, or feel about what we do. Cognitive dissonance is defined as the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to a behavioral decision and attitude change. It's not a comfortable feeling, and our brain tries to avoid it. The way to avoid cognitive dissonance is to reconcile what we feel about things with what we do about them. If, with your saying, just don't drop it, you implanted in your son's head that he will spill the coffee, he will reconcile the actions with that feeling, even if it is subconsciously with no malicious intent. Trust works the same way with all people. People's level of trustworthiness depends to a great extent on the level of trust that you have in them, which you communicate to them. If you trust someone, they will behave in a trustworthy way to avoid cognitive dissonance. If you don't trust them, they will behave in an untrustworthy way for exactly the same reason. If I know that you trust me, there is so much more pressure on me to behave in a way that justifies that trust than if you didn't trust me. At the same time, if you don't trust me, I don't feel that I must work hard or at all to get you to trust me. But there is something I must emphasize here. You must communicate to me whether you trust me or not, or how much. If you trust me, but don't communicate it, I have no way to know that you do. Breakdowns in trust may occur when one person trusts another, but doesn't communicate it. The other person doesn't know that and is under the impression that he or she are not trusted, and therefore don't bother acting in a trustworthy way. How do you communicate to the other person that you trust them? Think about a person making one of the following 2 statements to you. I trust you. I don't trust you. Which one would make you feel trusted and therefore would encourage you to be trustworthy? This is not a trick question. If someone tells you that he or she or trust you, it should be clear indication to you that they do. But their nonverbal communication, see chapter 20 later, sends a different message. What about this trust statement? Can I trust you? Other than being the title of my mini book series, when someone asks you this question, can I trust you? What are they communicating to you? That they are not sure. Maybe you can be trusted, maybe you can't. This would also be when their nonverbal communications has even a bigger role in communicating to you. Wouldn't the statement, I trust you, accompanied with supportive nonverbal cue, make you work hard to prove your trustworthiness and justify this trust? I trust you. However, although it may seem that you will forever be stuck in one of those cycles, there are 4 ways to move from one cycle to the other. And the cycles are, I trust you, you behave in a trustworthy way. I distrust you, you behave in an untrustworthy way. How do you move between those cycles? You may trust someone, communicate to them that you trust them, yet this would be meaningless to them and they would behave in an untrustworthy way. At some point, you will stop trusting them. 2, you may not trust someone, yet due to a high sense of duty, probably towards the greater good and not towards you, or maybe because they didn't know that you didn't trust them, they will behave in a trustworthy way until, over time, you begin trusting them. The 3rd way is you may act in a trustworthy way, yet the person you interact with will not be willing to trust you. Maybe this person has a problem trusting people in general. See the 7th law of trust next. But nevertheless, there is a limited distance that you are willing to go before you want to feel that you are trusted. And finally, you may act in an untrustworthy way, yet the person you interact with will show you that they trust you. You will likely cave under the pressure of cognitive dissonance and start acting in a trustworthy way.